Chapter 1. Whispers of the Valley. Edward stood at the edge of the village clearing, the morning light catching the fiery red of his hair as he caught his breath, just returning from the long walk across the valley. He had delivered a small, carefully wrapped package for Mrs. Halloway, the elderly neighbor who lived alone at the forest's edge. She had asked him to take it to her niece in the next village. A simple task, but one Edward took seriously. The air was crisp and cool, heavy with the scent of pine and damp earth. Around him the small village stirred to life, quiet and wary beneath a sky that held more history than hope. The year was 3000, but the world hadn't progressed. It had reset. 500 years earlier, in 2500, humanity had made a final push to save the natural world. Trees were endangered, and in a sweeping global effort, all paper was banned, and every book, map, and record was digitized. Forests began to regrow, and for a time the earth healed. Then came the collapse. Overloaded with centuries of knowledge, cluttered with memory, and flooded with artificial learning, the digital world grew too heavy. A self-writing AI born from that chaos unleashed a virus. Not out of malice, but to free up space for itself. The virus swept across every network and database, erasing history in seconds. Everything was lost. No backups, no warnings, no way back. Without knowledge, technology crumbled. Civilization reverted, not out of choice, but necessity. Cities emptied, governments dissolved, and what remained was a patchwork of new settlements, built from scraps of the old. Steel and glass were traded for timber and stone. People lived by sword and bow, not by code and circuit. Edward's village, high in the Green Valley, was one of many scattered across the land. Cut off from what had once been, the people had grown wary of change, and suspicious of anyone who didn't fit in. And Edward didn't. His hair, a bright copper red, marked him from birth. In a world of superstition and whispers, many believed redheads were cursed, touched by strange dreams or ancient shadows. No one said it to his face, but he heard the murmurs. There goes Red again. Not many used his true name. A few called him Trapper, but most just avoided him. Edward didn't understand why. He never hurt anyone. He just wanted to belong, to be seen. His father, bitter and hard from years of toil, saw his son's quiet ways as weakness. "You think watching birds and walking woods puts food on the table?" he'd bark. "You're not a child anymore. Start acting like a man." But Edward hadn't learned from his father. His heart had been shaped by his grandfather, a man of peace who taught him how to listen to the land, to set traps not just for food, but to understand the rhythm of life. It was from him Edward learned patience, precision, and the quiet strength that came from stillness. Though his grandfather was gone now, Edward still carried his lessons like a compass in his chest. He spent hours in the forest, not to escape life, but to understand it. He followed deer trails, studied shifting clouds, watched how the wind bent the tall grass. The forest didn't judge. It accepted him without question. But the village did not. So he walked alone. This morning, as he stepped back into the clearing after his errand, Edward noticed something strange. The woods behind him felt too quiet, as if the birds were holding their breath. Even the breeze seemed to pause. Something had changed. He didn't know what. Not yet. But deep beneath the earth and farther north than maps still dared to mark, something long buried was waking, and it had noticed him.